At 6 o'clock every morning, Gerald Mitchell unlocked the side entrance of Hartwell Manufacturing. For 34 years, that had been his routine. He started in 1989 as a floor supervisor. Over time, he worked his way up to plant operations manager. He learned every system in the plant, not just from manuals, but from experience. He could hear when a hydraulic press was running slightly off balance. He could feel when a bearing needed replacement weeks before a diagnostic system would flag it. Younger engineers relied on digital screens and performance dashboards. Gerald relied on memory, repetition, and pattern recognition built over decades. At 67, he still arrived before sunrise. He still walked the floor personally. To him, the plant wasn't just machinery. It was a system he understood deeply.
The integration metrics are definitive.
In early 2023, Hartwell was acquired by Quantum Industries. With the acquisition came new leadership, including a new Vice President of Operations, Bradley Cheswick. Bradley was polished, confident, and well-credentialed. His first presentation to senior staff focused on restructuring, modernization, and cost efficiency. The language was strategic, but the direction was clear. Reduce overhead, streamline leadership, prioritize new approaches. Within months, subtle changes began. Gerald was moved from his office near the plant floor to a windowless room in the basement. He was no longer invited to certain production meetings. It wasn't openly hostile, but it was deliberate. Experience was no longer being treated as an asset. It was being treated as an expense. In October 2023, Gerald was called into Bradley's office. The conversation was formal. The company was restructuring. They needed contemporary approaches. They were offering an early retirement package, 6 months of severance, if he signed by Friday. The agreement included clauses restricting his ability to work in manufacturing again. More importantly, it would affect his pension. His pension would fully vest at 35 years. He was 8 months short. That evening, Gerald reviewed the document carefully at his kitchen table. He didn't react emotionally. He did what he had done his entire career. He read every detail. And then he consulted an employment attorney. He decided not to sign. Gerald had always kept records, maintenance schedules, safety recommendations, operational notes. Now, those records mattered. His attorney helped him recognize a pattern. Several employees over 60 had been let go within the past year, while younger employees were being retained. Gerald also had documentation of maintenance recommendations that had been postponed to reduce short-term costs. He filed a formal complaint with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, alleging age discrimination. Separately, his documentation of safety concerns was reviewed under appropriate regulatory channels. He did not retaliate. He did not interfere with operations. He followed the legal process, and he waited. 3 months later, in February 2024, the main hydraulic press on Line 7 failed. It had been operating under deferred maintenance for some time. The repair costs exceeded $300,000. Production halted for 6 weeks. Customer contracts included penalty clauses that added significant financial impact. The company brought in outside contractors, but the equipment had decades of modifications not fully documented. Institutional knowledge had left the building. The boardroom conversations changed tone. Operational efficiency suddenly depended on experience that had recently been dismissed. Meanwhile, Gerald's EEOC complaint progressed. During legal review, documentation revealed a consistent pattern of age-based terminations. The company chose to settle. Gerald received full pension vesting as if he had completed 35 years. He received a 6-figure financial settlement. He received a neutral reference letter. There was no public dispute, no dramatic courtroom scene, just a negotiated resolution. Shortly after the settlement, the company approached Gerald with a request. Would he consider consulting? They needed help stabilizing Line 7. Gerald agreed, under professional consulting terms. $500 per hour, minimum contract. He returned to the same factory floor, this time as an independent consultant. He trained Marcus and other engineers. He transferred knowledge systematically. He ensured the equipment was rebuilt properly. The plant ran more efficiently than before. Experience was no longer dismissed. It was documented. Months later, Gerald saw Bradley at a restaurant. Bradley was between roles. The restructuring hadn't delivered the results leadership had hoped for. Gerald paid the lunch bill, not out of triumph, out of closure. He walked away quietly. He hadn't sabotaged anything. He hadn't sought revenge. He had documented facts, followed the law, and allowed natural consequences to unfold. His pension was secure. His expertise was valued. And his final lesson was simple. Experience is not obsolete. It is institutional memory. Companies that overlook it often rediscover its value, eventually. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever seen experience overlooked or short-term thinking outweigh long-term wisdom, consider subscribing. This channel shares stories about leadership, accountability, and the value of institutional knowledge. Sometimes, the biggest lessons aren't loud. They're simply remembered.